This is a screenshot video concerning the topic of third-party rights, and I have the notes up on the screen. By now, we know that references to the chapter number are meaningless because we didn't get the books, but we can launch into the subject matter. Nevertheless, the notes, I think, are pretty clear. When we talk about this topic of third-party rights, we're envisioning a situation where parties have entered into a contract. Let's keep it simple and say A has entered into a contract with B. And what we're going to find in certain situations is a party who was not a party to the contract, let's say C, is going to acquire rights under the contract, even though C was not a party to the contract. And we have two different areas where we can find or will find these third-party rights. One would be assignment of contractual rights, and the second would be the creation of third-party beneficiaries. And let's talk about assignments first. And again, we're keeping in mind that we are going to be looking at a situation where there's a contract and then some party who wasn't a party to the contract is acquiring rights. And I just use an example that I ran into once, and it's so typical, I think and also easy to understand. It's a good way to illustrate assignments. So at one point, I point out I purchased a home and I needed money to buy the property. So I was able to secure a loan from M&T Bank to make the purchase. Now, my contract with M&T Bank for the loan was reflected in a couple of different documents. Number one was a note where I promised to pay M&T back the loan for over a certain period of time at a certain rate of interest. And then M&T Bank, as all lenders, also required me to give M&T Bank a mortgage. So I was a mortgagor, and M&T Bank was a mortgagee. So we've got this contract then between myself and M&T Bank. And each month I made a payment on the loan, which we could call my mortgage payment to M&T Bank. At some point during the life of the loan, M&T Bank notified me that it had assigned the contract to a third party, Chase Manhattan Mortgage Corporation. And as I know, Chase Manhattan Mortgage Corporation was obviously not a party to my contract, but by virtue of the assignment, it now had a contractual relationship with me and I with it. And they had, Chase Manhattan had secured the right to receive my loan payment each month. I might add, though I don't have this in the notes, Chase Manhattan also, of course, received the duties M&T Bank had. The contract called for the bank to take so much out of my monthly payment to pay property taxes, to pay homeowners insurance, and so on. But now I'm sending my money each month not to M&T Bank, but to Chase Manhattan Mortgage Corporation. And it's really beyond the scope of contract law, but I just wanted to point out that loans are often assigned based on the need for a lender, in this case M&T, to acquire more capital, the money they received from Chase Manhattan. And the purchaser of the loan, Chase Manhattan, was able then to collect interest on the remaining part of the loan. So whenever you have a loan with interest, especially as in the case of a mortgage where it runs over 15, 20, 30 years, the interest payment on the loan, as I point out, is the juice. It's like currency, if we think about it, that gives rise to these assignment of loan contracts. And by the way, it wasn't that M&T Bank assigned its contract with me, and that was the only part of its transaction with Chase Manhattan. What lenders do is they bundle up any number of these loans and sell them to a third party. And most of you weren't around to have appreciated it or were at an age to appreciate it. But in 2007, 2008, our economy was in real trouble because that market of assigning mortgages became disrupted to the point where some lender businesses were failing and so on, because what they had done is two things that were wrong, meaning wrong from a financial sense. Number one, they being that industry, were overvaluing properties, so that if someone defaulted on a loan, the property that would be sold via the mortgage wasn't going to bring in the market it wasn't going to bring in the value or amount of the outstanding loan, because again the property had been overvalued, and the market value, if you will, was less than the outstanding loan value. A second thing was happening was simply that that industry was making bad loans to individuals who were not really in a sound enough financial position to pay them back. And so now you've got loans not being paid back, mortgages being foreclosed. However, the amount then fetched on the mortgage foreclosure sale wasn't addressing the amount of the outstanding loan, again, because the properties had been overvalued, etc. So there was a real problem. In any event, to return to assignments, let's focus on the rules concerning what contracts can and cannot be assigned. And as I note, initially, parties to a contract can prevent all assignments in their contract. So if you and I enter into a contract, we can have in the contract itself some provision that says neither one of us can assign the contract. And the only exception to that would be a contract for the payment of money only. And the exception is based on a public policy that the assignment of contracts only for the collection of money, as I kind of have noted above, is really a form of currency in our economy. The other point I make in this paragraph is that parties could also condition the right to assign. So, for example, a landlord, let's say, who's entering into a 2-year lease with someone, could condition the tenant's right to assign the lease by requiring the landlord's permission to the assignment. That would give the landlord an opportunity to scrutinize the potential incoming tenant. And if the landlord felt that the tenant didn't have the financial resources to meet the rental payment, or perhaps the tenant had difficulties in furnishing references or whatever, the landlord could refuse to give permission to the assignment. The next question we ask is this: what if parties to the contract have no specific agreement about assignment? And what we encounter here is this: if there is no language, if you will, one way or the other, the contract is silent on assignments, then the contract can be assigned unless, and we have 3 unlesses, if you will. There is a law that prevents the assignment. In New York State, for example, future workers' compensation benefits cannot be assigned. 2, our second unless, a contract cannot be assigned if it's personal in nature. So A has agreed in a contract to tutor B's children. B cannot assign the contract so that A must now tutor C's children. 3, the third unless, a contract cannot be assigned if the assignment will increase or otherwise significantly change the duties of the non-assigning party. So, for example, a young man or woman, I should say, could not assign his life insurance contract to me because, needless to say, that would drastically change the obligations of the life insurance company. In other words, when the life insurance company enters into a contract with a younger person, and they maybe have done a medical check sometimes, maybe not, but what they're looking at, the life insurance company, is what we call actuarial. I knew I could say that word. They look at those tables about life expectancy. So let's take a 25-year-old person. They're going to live a lot longer under those tables than will I, because believe me, I'm much older than 25 years of age. So if the young person assigned the life insurance contract to me, it is significantly changing the duties of the life insurance company, and that would not be permitted. I think that's what we need to say about assignments, and we can now go into third-party beneficiaries. And I think that I'm going to end this video because I don't want to get chopped off when I'm talking to third-party beneficiaries, and we'll put up a separate video about third-party beneficiaries. So this will conclude this video.